Yo, Bracy Skills Clinics back with another video. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. That way you be up to date with everything I drop. So, the last time I did a Spurs video was right after last week's win over the Boston Celtics. DeJounte Murray had just got back in the lineup, and we had snapped a 4-game losing streak. And, if you go back and watch the video, I was talking about how I'm sold on DeJounte Murray, which I definitely still am. That kid is still balling. Definitely should be an all-star, but different conversation. But not only, I talked about being sold, I was really talking about how well we looked out there with our full team. With Keldon and Derek White and Trey Jones and all those guys out there along with DeJounte and Jakob and Devin Vassell. Great win in Boston, right? Then all the guys go out and got to enter health and safety protocols. Keldon, Trey Jones, Thaddeus Young, Derek White, Devin Vassell, McDermott, still out. It's half our team. And we've got a little bit of another losing streak since winning that game in Boston. But and right now, currently, I know it's still a lot of time left. We are looking on the outside of a playing game by a half a game, I believe, behind Portland after they came up with a good win. That Anthony Simmons kid is really, really good. And that's good news for Portland because it makes Dame expendable. I don't want to get too high on that yet, but, Portland has to rebuild. It's just obvious. But anyways, back to the Spurs. I do still believe we will be a play-in. However, with Minnesota getting some wins and the way the West looks from 9 up to 5, we're not going to be outside of a play-in game. And if we get the play-in, we're going to be sitting at 10. Unless somebody hits a strong losing stride, we're going to be sitting at 10 if we do make the play-in, which, hey, I'm cool with. But it just sucks how this COVID thing for the second straight year has really affected the Spurs. So last year, all my real Spurs fans remember and know what I'm talking about. If you're a real Spurs fan and you follow us in depth and can break down every moment of the season just because you've been that involved with the Spurs, you're going to know what I'm about to talk about. Last year, there was a small stretch. I can't remember what the streak was or what was our record between like 10 or 15 games. But there was a stretch last year, and I remember it was after we won at Charlotte. We won at Charlotte, and I told myself, I'm like, man, the Spurs are playing really good basketball. Murray's figuring it out. DeRozan's playing efficiently. This was last year. At Charlotte, real Spurs fans, comment under, because I don't have everything in front of me right now, but comment. After we won in Charlotte, that capped a certain run for our team, but overall, we were playing good basketball, including that last game in Charlotte. What happened after that? Several Spurs players hit the health and safety protocols, and we was never able to really find that same rhythm that we had prior to that Charlotte Hornets game. Real Spurs fans remember what I'm talking about last year. There was a stretch where it looked like we were figuring it out, like the team was finally picking up after what Pop, basically was putting out there, right? They were figuring it out. And I just hope that, for this year that we get that same type of rhythm because not only did we look good in that Boston Celtic game, but prior to DeJounte going out, the first one, DeJounte first entered health and safety protocols. Prior to that, we were playing really good basketball and we're starting to figure it out. And then DeJounte goes down. We still won that first game without him at home against the Pistons. But I'm saying before he went into that, we were feeling really good with the way we were playing. Then we lose DeJounte. We win the first game at home against Detroit. Then we lose 4 straight. Then DeJounte comes back. Great win at Boston. We looked really good. Boom, we lose 6 players. So We're on a 3-game losing streak right now currently after losing to Philly, Brooklyn, and the Knicks. We're at home against the Rockets tomorrow. We should win even without our full play. I don't want to talk about who we're missing because that's a very winnable game, even with the roster we have right now. But I just hope that COVID doesn't get us for the second straight year, really around the same time of the year. I think it was like January last year where it really hit us. And like I said, we were never really able to get that same rhythm going. So I hope that's not the case for this year, because prior to DeJounte going out, we were sitting pretty good and we were really close to striking, that 6 or 7 seed. Now, we're 10 games under 500, so it's going to be a lot tougher to get back to that mark. But I just hope the Spurs go back to playing a good brand of basketball and getting some wins so that we can make a push and at least go into the final stretch playing good ball. You never know what can happen, man. I mean, I do feel like out of the teams that are battling for that last spot, I do believe we are the better team. I do believe we're better than Portland. I do believe we're better than Sacramento and the Pelicans. I do believe we are the better team of those bunch. And I also believe that, we lost last year to Memphis, but it was a very close game after a terrible start in that play-in game. But, I mean, if there's a coach that I would put all my marbles on in a one-game situation, it's definitely Coach Pop. So that's why I'm like, the Spurs, doesn't matter if they're 7 or 10. They make that play-in game. I don't care what team is the 7th seed. It could be the Lakers. As much talent the Lakers have, it's going to be tough to beat San Antonio with Pop coaching in one game. You might be the better team, but this is one game. So that's why I'm like, I just hope the Spurs just play good ball to finish the season, because if they do, I do believe as time sets in and everybody gets over the COVID, I do believe the Spurs are going to get in over Portland and Sacramento. I'm a little shocked that Sacramento has dropped the way they've dropped, because I think out of all 3 teams, Sacramento has the firepower as far as a star, a potential star, just like we have with DeJounte. But, you have a lot of talented guys and great shooting around a guy like De'Aaron Fox. And I'm just a little shocked that they've struggled the way they struggled. I understand Portland. We all understand that. But I'm a little shocked Sacramento, they haven't been really hit by COVID too hard as far as the main players or injury. Like Portland is dealing with injuries. San Antonio is dealing with COVID. Sacramento has had most of their core throughout this stretch, and they've struggled. So I'm a little shocked that Sacramento is struggling the way they are. So I just feel like once the Spurs get all their guys back, I do believe they're going to start getting some wins, and they're going to make a play-in. But DeJounte, I think, is making a very strong case for most improved player. I do like the fact that he's leading the league in steals right now. Hopefully he can keep that up, because I do believe he's going to finish top 3 or top 5 for sure. But if he leads the league in steals, I think it's done. You got to give him first team all defense, definitely. You lead the league in steals and then lead all point guards, shooting guards, and small forwards in rebounding. I mean, you gotta put him at first team, along with the other, crazy analytic stats like shots contested, those type of things, deflections. All those things count, and DeJounte is always filling up those stat sheets on the defensive side. So, hopefully if he leads the league in steals, it'll kind of, help for the casual mind that DeJounte should make first team all defense. Because I'm just saying, like I said last video, if DeJounte doesn't make the all-star team, he got to get first team all defense, and he has to get a real strong consideration for most improved player. You got to give him somebody this year. This kid continues to ball. I hate the Spurs couldn't stay competitive, because I think that was a 30-point game for DeJounte if he didn't sit the whole fourth quarter out. So I'm continuing to be sold, man, because I do remember a time where a lot of the Spurs fan base was not high on DeJounte. And I was going to war with a lot of Spurs fans about DeJounte being our franchise player. So I'm just happy to see him have the success that he's having. And it just makes our job a lot easier. The next video that I'm going to do about the Spurs, I don't know when, But I'm going to talk about this trade deadline coming up. I don't mind the Spurs staying pat with all of our players, but there is one player that everybody is anticipating that will be moved, and that's Thaddeus Young, just with him being a vet and him expressing that, he wants to play for a contender and not really liking his role. I do think he's going to be traded, but I think the question is going to be, will they have to put somebody with him to get something that they may really want? And who will that person possibly be? And will there even be a trade? We've seen times where the Spurs, everybody thought it was going to be a trade, and the Spurs absolutely did nothing. So we'll talk about that trade deadline and what the trade deadline may look like for San Antonio. But I'm also going to talk about Zach Collins, because I've talked briefly about Spurs fans overlooking that move. I'm also going to talk about next video how Zach Collins may be a bigger piece to this puzzle as you think, and why he could mean the Spurs may not be as aggressive in free agency as we think as fans. Zach Collins might make us stay put, and why that could be a great thing if the Spurs do not feel the need to get a quality big because they're high on this guy. Maybe Zach Collins is everything we thought Luka was going to be. I'm going to touch on all that next video. But make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe again. Go Spurs, go. I know we're on a losing streak right now, but we do have Houston at home. Hopefully the Spurs come out and play good. It's going to be a fun game to watch with all those young talent on the floor at once. So other than that, you guys have a good one.